It's The Rob on 106.1 Kiss FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting. Welcome to the show, the man beast, Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jer.
Goddamn, pal, it's not a cage. It's hell in a cell.
Pronouns.
Yeah.
Pal. Pronouns, pal.
Pronouns, pal. Hell in a cell.
I'll give you $500 to put that cigarette out.
Everybody's got a prize.
How's it going, man? How about welcome back?
So I'll go ahead and I'll tell you, thank you. I'll start by saying I am sleepy today. The kids didn't get to sleep. It was just a pain. But long story short, I didn't start the pay-per-view. Didn't start until after 9. And
so yeah, for everyone here in the Central Time Zone that's watching, Jer started an hour and a half late,
and I did not skip, and so I was up till darn near 1
Poor
because
Jerry.
they decided to go long.
And I have to be honest with you, this infuriates me. I'm not positive I can explain why. I just know that it does. So this show's already off to a rough start for me.
Yeah, well, there's no need for 3.5 hours. Especially when you look at what was in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many places you could have cut half an hour. The show ended at 10:34 Central Time, 11:34 Eastern Time.
1 a.m. Jerry time.
Yeah. Don't forget, Jerry's got to get up at what, 4, 5 in the morning?
4:30 is when my alarm goes off. I got up today at 5:20. I was like, I'm pushing it.
Look what you did to him, Vince.
Goddamn, pal.
Come on, pal.
Come on.
Why are you going off the air 34 minutes after you're scheduled to? This annoys me.
Well, because they can. And there's probably people out there that love it. And when in hindsight, when we were in high school, Rob, we'd have loved it. But it's a pain in the butt. And it's not like they gave us 30 more minutes of greatness.
No. Like we were saying earlier, like if Deadly Games in 1998 went 15, 20 minutes over, I kind of get that because you're busting like a can of biscuits with content, with angles that are being moving forward, with you got like 20 matches. Like I kind of get how in 1998 a show could have gone long, but they never ever did because they knew how to write the show. And I miss that mentality. I just miss that Vince Russo thought mentality of writing a really good pay-per-view. Nobody does it anymore.
When the timing's blown, who's that on? Is that on the talent? Is it on the ref? Is it on the back? Like,
no.
Where does the responsibility to time a show fall?
Well, that falls on the producers and stuff, but this was not an example of that. This was them choosing to go, at least in my opinion, because that main event was so long that and they got into it so late that there's just no way it was a miscommunication or a mistiming thing.
And I don't want this to sound like an indictment on what I feel about this main event. We'll get into that soon. But they could have cut 10 to 15 minutes off of that main event.
Oh, my God, yeah. Absolutely, yes. And you could say it about almost every match. Every match felt a little long to me. And, when not that much is going on, at least storyline-wise, I felt really fatigued watching the show last night. So that was a big complaint of mine.
Before we get into grades, can I say that it feels good to win the Lock of Destiny by holding the tights?
So I wanted to tell you something about this too, because if push
you thought you were going to run away with it.
No, I actually didn't. I was quite happy that I won the first 2 matches because the New Day lost to the Usos. That was the first match. What was the second match? Was it Rusev and Orton?
Rusev and Orton, and I thought for a minute there I was going to be right.
Yeah, but I never really wavered on that one personally. So I was going through an interesting thing here because I learned right before the show started from you, actually, they decided to make the U.S. title match a triple threat match.
Right.
And I made a deal with myself that if Ty Dillinger won the U.S. title last night, I was going to give that to you. because you had been forecasting this triple threat match for weeks now. And we didn't know until hours before. So it's interesting because now let's say this, Jer.
It did feel like that triple threat had been coming. I just don't know why they didn't present it to us on TV.
I agree with you. And I don't like that they did that, especially because it didn't even really have a huge... I felt like Ty was barely in the match at all.
Here's the impact it had. It allowed the title to move without AJ getting pinned.
I suppose you're right. Yeah, I mean, I guess if AJ needs that protection, I'm not positive he does. So let me ask you this, though, and try to answer honestly. If I would have sent you a text that said, hey, you've been calling this Ty Dillinger thing for weeks now. Because of that, I'm willing to let you change your pick to Ty, or I'm willing to let you change your pick in that U.S. title match. You would have changed it off of Corbin, wouldn't you have?
I would have taken Tay Diggler, perfect number 6.
So
I would have. I think that when they added him to the match, I was like, oh, here comes Ty Dillinger. Here we go. He's going to get it.
Yeah,
for sure.
So if you would have done that, if I would have offered and you would have taken, I would have the Lock of Destiny.
Yes. Listen, we're looking at another Dusty finish. Yeah. I'm holding it tight.
So, and then I was even gonna be like, I thought it was the big thing to do. I wasn't gonna bring it up until the show, but if Ty would have won, I would have let you have that. So you didn't even know it, but you had 2/3 of the match. All you needed was AJ to lose last night, and you would have won that match.
Right.
So, so you won the match anyway. Like I said, I guess you can call it Dusty, even though you picked Corbin. But I almost offered that trade, and you would have taken it, and that would have made all the difference in the world. So then we're going into the Ziggler and Rude match. I'm up 2-1, and now this is the one, which if you remember was the only one I was really unsure about heading into that. This is now the deciding match.
I did not think I was winning the Lock of Destiny because when Ziggler walks out the way he did, I was like, oh, Rob was right. He needs to win this.
It's Dolph. Is it the same way it's Bray is a good enough reason to make him lose? It's Dolph is a good enough reason to make Dolph lose.
You lost. They held the tights. I won, and it was a tie. But the tiebreaker is the match that goes on last. So I won by holding the tights.
And don't even mistake this. Whoever would have thought that was not where I saw the finish coming at all. Like those like multiple roll-ups happen all the time. It never is a finish. And they
were running low on time.
You should have seen I was just like I just can't win a B show to save my butt.
I was like, yeah, it's the Lock of Destiny. We take the Lock of Destiny very seriously here at Post to Post.
And it's always Dusty. So
it's never a clean finish. So you want to talk grades? What do you want to do? How do you want to do this?
Why don't we start with a recap of the show? We'll lead up to the grades.
Okay.
The first match I thought was probably my favorite match of the night. Not going to be surprised if it's not yours, but I know what you like out of wrestling, and it seemed like that was pretty present throughout the show. So I'm not going to be shocked if you give the show a better grade than me because I know what you like out of wrestling. However, I know that you're not a fan of when they go over 3 hours, let alone over 3.5 hours.
Especially on a night where I gambled and lost on a 9:30 start.
But for someone who likes, you like weapons, you like devastation, you like big spots, you like high risk.
The cell is without a doubt my favorite stipulation. It
really?
Just is. It is.
I'll take an old boring ladder before I take a cell.
They need to start putting ladders in the cell. I
do want to praise the show by saying this was probably the best use of cells maybe ever. Like the one the year before when it was Raw and they had 3 of them and they had the main event being the women's, like that was not a good use of cells. But both of the cells last night I thought were advantageous to the show. So I was happy about that. I'm going to make complaints about both of these Hell in the Cell matches, but that doesn't mean I think either one of them were bad. or we'll get to the main event here in a little bit, but we'll start with the first match, the curtain jerker.
I like how they were both different. They were both so violent, but they were violent in different ways, and I really enjoyed that.
The New Day match was my favorite match of the night. They had some really innovative moves for a cell match. I mean, we've seen plenty of them by now. Specifically, I liked locking one of the Usos in a bamboo prison.
That was cool.
That was cool. And hanging Xavier by the handcuffs was also cool.
Boy, he was taking some serious gut shots.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was really fun to watch. My only complaint was early on, it got really New Day-y, and not in a good way. With
the cowbell?
In the same respect that I want, I feel like, so if I'm going to say that Will Ospreay and Ricochet isn't wrestling, it's the organized gymnastics kind of thing, because it's not realistic looking, and I don't believe they're fighting. I feel you can say the same exact thing about the beginning of this Hell in the Cell match.
You're talking about like stuff with the cowbell.
It was all comedy and the gong and stuff that people wouldn't really do in real life.
Right. Yeah, I get that. I do like the juxtaposition of that to the end of the match, because you get to see a switch go off on Big E and a switch go off on Xavier Woods, and they get, I mean, at one point, it really feels like they're fighting for their lives in there. And it was cool.
It got there. But early on, when we're playing with gongs and musical instruments and cowbells, that's just not what I want out of a Hell in a Cell. You know what I mean? So that was my problem there, but still went on to redeem itself and be the best match of the night, in my opinion. So
if not darn close, I give that match an A. I gave that match an A. I was like, that is what I want. It was fast paced. It was super uber violent, and it didn't do anything that I knew the last match was going to do.
So,
like this match was all about smashing people with stuff, and the last match was always going to be about taking bumps off the top. I just knew from the beginning that's how we're going to go. You. Yeah, they told us.
So is it safe to say that was not your number one match last night?
It's tough to say. It was my number one match till the end. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not my favorite match of the night. My favorite match of the night, it's no secret, it's the main event. We'll get to that.
Okay. And I'm excited to talk about that. So next, I think, was Rusev and Orton, but there's really not much to talk about there.
Boring.
It's
Boring.
Exactly what I thought was going to happen.
No heat, and they give Orton the win. I don't think he needed it. I think that Rusev does. Rusev, I don't know, poor Rusev. That's all I thought after that match.
What came after that? I want to say it was, I don't have the card in front of me.
The triple threat.
Yeah, that was good. It felt a little long to me. I wish that we would have known going into it that it was a triple threat match instead of just making it earlier that night.
It's like they forgot.
It is almost like that.
It's like, oh, we forgot to put Ty in the match. Crap.
Or like, if we're going to do it day of, like, these are one of my biggest complaints, that we're not saving enough of this good stuff for the pay-per-views. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that, that SummerSlam would have been a good place to debut Bobby Roode. Why are we always doing it the next night? Or like, there's some stuff that we could save for the show to make the show more exciting.
I feel like it's kind of like what they used to do with the hotline. And they're doing it with WWE.com. I think they're trying to drive people to the website for these WWE.com exclusives. I don't mind when there's bonus content. I don't mind when you get an extra interview, or even something happens backstage, like when Raw goes off the air, we get to see stuff. But to take actual storyline progression that you need to see and not put it where everyone can see it, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we used to have this with the post shows all the time, with the Raw Talk and the Talking Smack stuff. Like, yeah, it's just really frustrating. Like, I mean, I can't just live in the world. I have my own life to live. I can't always be watching wrestling.
Not world, universe.
The universe. Thank you. You're right.
Yes.
Damn, pal.
Yeah.
So
medical facility. Don't say hospital.
if I had to, that podcast is so good. Anyway, if I had to give a certain criticism about that match, the match was solid. It did feel kind of like a spot fest to me, a little bit. Am I off there?
I don't think you're off there. I don't know who's not comfortable in that triple threat. It didn't feel like they were all comfortable. It wasn't the most cohesive match for me.
Yeah, it just felt like disjointed spots a little bit, which, you know, I guess you can kind of say AJ's in there with two young guys, one very young and one younger. And, you know, I kind of wanted a little bit more, but don't get me wrong. Like, especially with how many replays that match had, and a lot of them were worthy of it. It was good. I don't want to come off as being down on the match. I wasn't. I'm a little concerned about where AJ goes from here. I'm really hoping it's up, and not lateral or down.
I'm hoping that he is the next one to challenge Jinder Mahal.
That's where I want him to go, and I feel we could make this go somewhere, especially because he's now a former U.S. champ. Jinder seems to have a thing against the U.S. that could maybe be something, maybe.
Right.
So I hope it's forward movement. Was next the women's match?
Next was the women's match, and if you and I had picked Natalya to, I mean, Charlotte won. We picked Charlotte to win, but that's not really what we picked.
No,
we picked
yeah,
her
correct.
To be champion.
And that didn't happen, and it's just that division is just in a state of meh right now. I didn't even watch the match. I was cleaning up dinner and doing dishes during that match. I was waiting for the women's match to do those things for a reason. I just don't care.
I watched it. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. I'll say this, though. Charlotte looks better than she ever has.
Even better than those pictures that made you go bonkers?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Still our most viewed video. I think it's up to like almost 20,000 views.
It's all in how you write it. You wrote, what was the title? Charlotte's Nudies or something.
Yeah, but no one goes to YouTube to see nudes.
I mean, you type it in, you type it in. You type it in, you type it in.
What the best thing though is Jerry wasn't reacting to naked pictures of Charlotte.
It was a fake picture. It wasn't even real.
And then the one time that naked pictures leak and they're horrifying is the one that Jerry is bouncing off the walls to.
They were the worst. They were the worst nudies.
The great thing is the next episode we issued a corrective statement, and that was viewed by like 75 people.
67,000 to go.
All right, so then we're getting into, let's see, what would have come next? I don't have. Like
now it's the championship match. Now it's time for the world championship match in the middle of the show. This feels like a mid-card match to me.
I gotta tell you, while I was watching that match, it had nothing going for me. It had nothing going.
It was your typical Jinder Mahal match. Shinsuke does not do it for me. It's funny. I know the internet's going to kill Jinder Mahal today because it's the same match he always does. But for me, I'm more invested in Jinder than I am in Shinsuke. I'm glad that Jinder Mahal retained.
Well, I feel like we're getting to that point now where it's like, who's going to beat Jinder? You know, he's had a pretty solid run now. Like he didn't have the right build. At least now he's got the length of, or at least the added value of having tenure now. Because when did he win? He won in like April, didn't he?
I just want him to have a feud that feels like a main event. He won at Backlash, whenever that was.
Yeah, I think that was April.
Yeah.
And
I just want him to have a feud that feels like a main event feud. You know, Brock Lesnar defending the championship against Braun Strowman, that felt like a championship feud. And Jinder hasn't really had that. It's been Randy Orton or Shinsuke Nakamura, and I haven't cared about any of it really. And I think it's because of his opponents, but I'm not sure it's not him. I don't know for sure.
Well, and there's no real angles here. With Randy, it was just, you beat me for the title, I want it back. And with Jinder, with Shinsuke, it's we're different nationalities, so I'm going to make fun of you. And there's never been anything for us to really sink our teeth into. Something with AJ, I think, has the potential to do it, or anybody else, like with someone who can speak English, you know, I just feel like there's potential there. You know,
Right.
I'm not lost on Jinder. I was sour and cold on him at the beginning because I just thought it was they didn't build him properly. We've been down this road before. This isn't news to anybody.
Right.
But you know, at least we've gotten him somewhere where his title reign has value. We really do need just a story or something with him to give him a different layer, to give him a personality that we've been missing.
I agree. I agree, and I hope he gets that. I'm predicting AJ, but you never know. It could be anybody.
Yeah, that's my hope. I don't know where they're going with a lot of this stuff now, and that's kind of one of the things that left me wanting more from the pay-per-view is a lot of stuff didn't really go anywhere, or stuff that wrapped up like AJ or Jinder or Nakamura. I don't know where these guys are going next month.
Right. And for Jinder Mahal, I'm telling you right now, it doesn't seem like he's going to have the main event story for the next couple of weeks anyways, because when we get to the main event, the ending of Hell in a Cell leads the most compelling story once again is away from the championship.
Yeah, well, we'll get to there. And I guess there's only one more match to cover in the meantime, right?
And we kind of covered it earlier when you said, oh, it's Dolph. I mean, he pulled the tights. Yeah,
there's really not much to it. I kind of got the impression, I don't know what it was about when it was actually being executed. I just kind of thought he was going to swerve us and not do something special. And that's what he did with his entrance, despite telling us to wait for an entrance unlike one we've ever seen before. We wind up with what we got, which was nothing.
Just him walking out like it's a 1986 WCW house show with nothing, no music or lights. It was like,
right. The only thing that would have been better would have been if he, like the old school jobber way of doing things. You just come back from a video with him already in the ring in a windbreaker. You know what I mean?
In a windbreaker.
Oh, hey, and before we get to the main event, do you want to mention the Fashion Files at all, or not really?
We can mention the Fashion Files. I thought the very beginning of the Fashion Files was really funny. Like, the board is funny as always. The pictures on the board I thought were great.
Who was in what year is this picture?
Fandango.
Oh, okay.
Just like from the beginning of his Fandango bit. So I thought that was funny, and that's when it stopped being funny to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, once we started getting to all the tube stuff and the 2B stuff, and it kind of lost me a little bit. This is a whole lot of buildup for they've really not wrestled. Like this is just so weird how little payoff we've had from this gimmick.
Here's what they needed to do, and I feel confident saying what I think that they needed to do to keep this interesting and to keep people engaged is whenever they had, even whether it's Twin Peaks or whether it's a Miami Vice spoof, whatever they decide, coming up, they've got the Pulp Fiction one. Every single one of them needs to end with a payoff match. They need to solve the mystery and have a match. They have to, but they never solve a mystery. I can't follow it.
Yeah, and maybe not every week the payoff has to be a match, but at least every pay-per-view or like every story switch.
Build up to the match, and that would be what a great hook.
Yeah,
that would be is every pay-per-view that they had, there was a match with Breezango with Fandango that you didn't know who their opponents were. And it's just build them and question marks. You don't know who it is because they still have to figure out the mystery. And then they solve the mystery and you get the match.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's just so well. That's just a really good, fresh idea. So yeah. So
you never know who their opponent is every time there's a pay-per-view. That would be fun to pick, and it would be fun for a little while anyways. But instead it's just... I feel like they're in a hamster wheel. They're just treading water here. I'm trying to remember some of the stuff on the blackboard. I remember there was his hair is a 6 or a 4 or something like that for Ty Dillinger. Addicted to no sleeves, and then was Randy Orton, and then also addicted to no sleeves was Kevin Owens. Oh, and there's one more in the bottom left that's escaping me right now. Yeah, I can't think of it. Let's move on to the main event. We've got
Kevin Owens taking on Shane McMahon in what was easily the blood feud of the night, without a doubt. Started about, I think, 5 minutes before most shows go off the air.
Dude, the setup package was like 7 minutes long.
Yeah. And you know what else struck me as weird last night? Between every single match, they cut to the commentators and gave them a graphic. Usually they do that only once, maybe twice in a night. They did it after every match this night. I don't exactly know why. But so I know this was your favorite match. And if you don't mind, let me kind of say my piece on this.
Okay.
It was a fun match to watch, but it was a difficult match for me to really enjoy because of what I was saying on Thursday's episode. It kind of became what I didn't want it to become. Psychologically, the whole match was a big miss for me in the context of especially Shane McMahon, but really both guys eventually got to the point where the story stopped flowing and we're just going to get to where we have to get to. It doesn't matter if logic applies here. Real people would not do this in this situation. That kind of stuff really disconnects me from enjoying a match like this. I will say this. When we got to the top of the cell, which I didn't like the way we got there, but we got there. Every spot up there was breathtaking. Like literally my heart would skip a beat every time someone would hit the fencing.
I was waiting for the fencing to go. Boy, that sucker was triple enforced.
Yeah. So, and that was fun. And then when they start getting close to the perimeter of the top and you think that, Kevin might throw Shane off, or it even got to the point where I was certain it was going to be Shane who threw Kevin off at some point. And you look at the size of the structure, which is even bigger than it's been in previous years. I mean, the thing is, it's crazy how high they were up there. So once they were at the top, like I was enjoying it for what it was, but the fact that it got up there made no sense. It was really annoying that they told you on Tuesday, everything that they were going to do. I guess for me, it all started with that coast to coast. It just felt like the first thing that felt a little out of place to me. Shane awkwardly opening the door, senseless. You've got the guy beaten already. Why'd you waste all this time opening the door?
Get outside. I want to get outside.
Yeah, it just didn't make any sense to me, especially when you've got, a really good situation on your hands. Everything at the table before felt a little awkward. Who went up? Kevin went up first. Just didn't make any sense to me. Didn't know what he was planning on doing up there when he had Shane beat. Shane following up. Again, things people wouldn't do. The behavior up there. I don't know if Shane really hurt his head or not. I feel like during the coast to coast, he may have hurt his head legit because he was selling the back of his head rough all night long.
Right.
So yeah, then we get up there. I did like what happened. If you just showed me that part of them up there and you don't know that it's not going to break, that part was exhilarating. But then they come back down and then just like when Shane goes back up for the jump that makes no sense, you lose me. Psychologically, you lose me. Go ahead, Jer.
Okay, so I get it. I agree with a lot of it. And I would take 10 minutes off this match too. The first time Kevin Owens goes to the top
10.
and like he's teasing jumping off and he doesn't, I was like, oh, we don't need this. But it gets Shane to the top. Let me backtrack to the beginning. I liked and I wish they had, if they're going to do outside the cage business, the cell, if they go outside, they started the right way by never starting inside. If you start the match outside and you're fighting outside, that's great. But once you're in, then they lock it. Getting out makes no sense.
Agree completely. They are already outside. Just leave it there.
Just leave it there. But anytime I think about psychology, Kevin Owens takes a table and he puts it up against the cage. And then he puts Shane McMahon on it. And then he goes and he does a slip into it. And then Shane McMahon moves. And Kevin Owens goes to the table. And then Shane McMahon picks up the table and he beats him with it. I'm not worried about psychology. He's hitting him with a table. Half of a table. Okay? They go to the top. And I get it. It makes no sense for them to be up there. But they're up there now. And he's flipping them. And he's giving them a pump-up powerbomb 30 feet in the air. I'm not worried about psychology. I know what's coming. It's a Shane McMahon match. He's going to do a lot of this. He's going to throw punches that look fake. He's going to do the coast-to-coast, which didn't need to be there. But he kicked him in the face with a garbage can from the other side of the ring. It was a spot fest. There were spots that I could have told you were going to happen. I should, for all intents and purposes, agree with you 100%. And in a way, I do. But Shane McMahon fell off the cage, went through a table. Sami Zayn comes out and swerves everybody. What's that all about? It's an A match. It's an A match for me because it gave me everything I wanted.
Oh, not an A match for me. But let me also say this. I did want to add this to credit the match.
And they did the Falls Count Anywhere clearly so they could do that Sami Zayn thing at the end.
So let me give it one more piece of credit if you don't mind. I wanted to add this on. Of all of Shane's leaps, this one was my favorite. This one was the best. Because they all psychologically make no sense. So if we're saying all things even, this one I feel like you got no cushion. If there was a trick involved, I'm still not sure what it was.
Go back and look. I thought I saw a trick, but I'm not 100% sure.
Go ahead. What do you think? I'm sure there was one.
I think that if you look at the top, it's more prevalent with the first announce desk and not the one he eventually goes through. But if you look, the top of the countertop, it looks like padding. It looks like rubber. It looks like wrestling.
Dude, even still, that's fine with me. That's still manning up and taking a bump, man. You know, the one at SummerSlam with Steve Blackman, while it is visually really impressive, it's so obvious he's landing on an air cushion.
Well, the WrestleMania one with The Undertaker, that was an air cushion for sure.
Those to me weren't as special as the one last night. And like, even still, let's say it was padded. Look how close he came to hitting those chairs. You know,
he almost missed.
Yeah, I mean, it was just visually his best work. But just again, I'm just waving my hands at it like, why are you doing this? Like,
there was so much brutality, and it was, like I said in the beginning of the pay-per-view, it starts with an A in the cell, and it's fast. And it's violent and it's brutal, but it's fast-paced and it just feels different. This was more plotting. This was more methodical. This was, we're going to take our time and I'm going to cripple you. I'm going to try to cripple you at every single turn. And I thought Kevin Owens was masterful because he does have to carry Shane McMahon psychologically through a match. Shane McMahon can do spots and bumps and he can wrestle with the best of them, but he doesn't have that it factor when it comes to painting a picture.
Shane can't wrestle with the best of them. He does the big spots.
He does wrestle with the best of them. He's put on max matches with some of the top talents, and he can hold his own. And people like his match with Kurt Angle, and people like his match with The Undertaker, and they like his match with Kevin Owens. But it's
I haven't heard anyone say they liked the Undertaker match. The Angle match is awesome. That was just so unique. I don't know. So I'll stop nitpicking though. I don't agree with the he can wrestle with the best of them part. But I will say that was the water cooler moment of the show. Especially when you combine it with the Sami Zayn, I guess you can say turn or however you want to word that. I feel like that combined made the water cooler moments between the jump and the turn. So if you don't mind transitioning into letter grades, I do. So the last show, what was it called? What was Raw's show called? Help me out. What was it? What was their last?
No
Mercy.
No Mercy. Yeah.
No Mercy. I gave a B- C+ to. You gave it a C. We agreed C+ will be our grade.
Sure.
I feel like with this show, there was a little bit of a water cooler moment. Just a tiny bit of storyline progression, not enough, in my opinion, to make a check mark. Wrestling was on point pretty much all night long. Everyone did a fine job, I guess. I'm willing to give it, because it went 34 minutes over, And just with the problems that I've outlined throughout the show, whether you want to talk about the first match, the last match, which all matches I liked. I don't want to say I didn't like the main event, but I didn't like it the way Jerry did. I can agree to the same grade I gave the show before it because I feel like it's kind of the same review. So I'm content giving last night, I'll say a C+ as far as a B-.
So keep in mind, I started that main event at 10 till midnight.
Yeah, no, dude. And I have
Brutal.
a problem with that. It didn't need to be that long.
Brutal. So picture your favorite hamburger. Picture the best hamburger you've ever had.
Okay.
Best hamburger you've ever had. Now, it all starts with what? It starts with really, for me, it starts with the bread. It starts with the roll. If you have a bad roll, it's not a good burger. Got to have a good bun. I prefer a nice brioche bun. Put it on a nice brioche, a little garlic butter finish. Tastes delicious. It's awesome. But the burger still has to be good. And the cheese, it has to be good. And the lettuce and the tomato and whatever you want to put on it, still has to be good. You can't just have an A+ brioche bun and then an overcooked patty with melted McDonald's processed cheese. I want some Gruyere in that son of a gun. I want something nice.
An extra cheese, extra mayo, double pickle, mother effer.
Big old onion, mother effer. I want it to be good the whole way through. That's an A+ burger. I'm telling you right now that the first match and the last match of this pay-per-view were both A's for me. So we've got the brioche bun. I've got the bun that I want. I have the most important ingredient for a good burger for me. But then Jinder Mahal overcooks the patty. Natalia forgets to put the lettuce on.
We asked for extra lettuce, you C-word.
You got a triple threat match that it gave you tomatoes, but they were juicy. They were runny. I didn't love it. Didn't love it. Made the bun all soppy. It's not a good burger. It wasn't a great burger. Someone's holding the tights while they're making the burger. I'm ticked. I'm pissed. I wanted to give it a B. I don't think I can give it a B. It's still a bad burger. So I give it a C. I give it a C, but I have to preface it with those two matches were awesome. They were A matches, in my opinion. The Hell in the Cell stipulation for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view was perfectly done. I was happy with it, 100%. But you booked it too long, and everything in between didn't feel necessary, important, and just way too boring. So C for you sons of guns.
Well, this is another time I'm surprised you gave the show a worse score than I did. We can agree on a C+ if you want to again, or I might even see, like, okay, here's the thing is last night's show did feel like a C to me, but that would mean to me that the show was worse than No Mercy, and I don't believe that.
Well, I don't either. And it's hard for me to give it a C. I wish I could give it 2 grades. I wish I could give it a grade of the Hell in a Cell matches and then a grade for everything else, because I think it could have easily been a B+ show.
And but
they just needed to shorten stuff up.
And everything you just said is why I think it's important to only give a letter grade if you watch the whole show. Because if you took out everything wrong in the middle, which a year ago you would have given it a higher grade that it didn't deserve. Agreed?
Without a doubt. If I'm not up till 1 a.m. because I watched Natalia, and because I watched Baron Corbin, and because I watched a Jinder Mahal match that made no sense to me, and because I watched a Randy Orton match that made me want to fall asleep, like there are 4 matches out of the 8 that I didn't care about, and I'm up till 1 a.m. So suck my butt.
One last question for you, Jer. Where do we go from here with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens?
I don't know. I feel like this is more of a. I'm hoping this is more of a screw you Shane than a I'm with Kevin.
Oh, I'm disagreeing. First of all, Sami Zayn had that. You know how, like, when guys go heel, whether we're talking Usos or Enzo, they just seem to wear more black.
Yeah, he was wearing black, wasn't he?
He was all decked out in black. And I think this has the potential to be a big thing for Sammy. I don't want to name drop, and I know it sounds kind of douchey when people do that, but I talk to Conrad every morning, and this morning I was picking his brain about the show last night, and he didn't watch all of it. He didn't see either of the cell matches, but he knew what happened. And the thing that he said was that he really hopes this could be something for Sami Zayn. And he has a theory as to where they might be going that I wasn't thinking of, but also makes a bunch of sense. He thinks somewhere down the line, I might be putting words in his mouth when I say Survivor Series, but Survivor Series feels right. We might be looking at an alliance between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens taking on Shane McMahon and Triple H.
That could be good.
And then that would lead to the turn.
Well, I don't want to name drop either, but I was talking this morning with Triple H and Vince McMahon. I have breakfast with them and Pat Patterson every Monday, and they didn't mention it to me. So
I know it sounds douchey when I do it. I talk to the guy every day, though.
It doesn't sound douchey. I think it's awesome. Tell him to tell Bruce Pritchard that he owes me a call because I bought a shirt. And every time I get a phone call from some number I don't know,
he just picks up. Is this Bruce Pritchard? I
pick it up and I do a thing. Every time I'm like, goddamn pal. Or I'm like, because I don't know if it's him. And I was like, the other day I picked it up and I was like, you want a Christmas or do you want a no holds barred Christmas? And then all of a sudden there's silence and I hear, hi, this is Sarah from the American Red Cross. And I was like, oh, son of a gun, Sarah.
Pronoun Sarah.
So tell him to call me. I'm dying on the vine.
Well, I kind of gave you a little something there when I said that would lead to the turn. Do you know what the turn is?
What do you mean the turn?
He thinks that, so it's going to lead to this tag match. You got Owens and Zayn against Triple H and Shane.
Sure.
And he thinks that would lead to Triple H turning on Shane for a heel turn that would get, I want to say it was Owens and Triple H at Mania or something like that. Or I don't remember where it was going to get to at WrestleMania, but that would plant the seed for a Triple H heel turn on Shane, get Triple H back on TV to ultimately lead to WrestleMania.
All I know is I'm just excited for the KO Mania 3 shirts.
So, man, I think I got to say, as far as recapping goes and, giving our opinions on what we saw last night, I think we did a very good job, personally, Jared, if you don't mind my saying.
I think we killed it, and we did it in 3 hours and 15 minutes less than the pay-per-view was.
Exactly. Is there anything you want to add before I play the theme song out of here?
Double onions, extra mustard, extra cheese, mother.
And on that note, if you don't know what's going on, you got to listen to Something to Wrestle With, Bruce Pritchard.
We'll start making much more sense if you watch that too.
Mother effer. All right, so listen, we'll have another episode for you tomorrow. We'll recap tonight's Raw. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Leave us some comments on the post show. What kind of letter grade do you give the show? We want to know for sure. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.